Welcome. What story shall I share with you today? Please close your eyes quietly, listen carefully, and immerse yourself in our tale. Today's story is about a child named Andy who sets out to find a mysterious cave where fairies are said to live in order to heal his injured father. The title of this story is The Legend of the Fairy Cave. Once upon a time, in an old village, there existed a legend. The legend spoke of a mysterious cave in the nearby forest where fairies lived. It was said that anyone who could pass the trials set by the fairies could have their wish granted. Long ago, many people believed in this legend and ventured into the forest to find the cave. However, as no one had ever found the cave, people eventually stopped believing in the legend. In that village, there lived a boy named Andy. Andy lived alone with his father, who was a hunter. One day, while his father was out hunting, he was attacked by a bear and was seriously injured. Fortunately, his father survived but remained unconscious for a long time. Worried about his father's condition and unable to sleep night after night, Andy decided to search for the mysterious cave. That's just a legend. How do you expect to find something that no one else has ever found? It's dangerous to go into the forest alone. Your father will wake up, so don't have such futile thoughts. Despite the villagers' attempts to stop him, Andy packed his father's gun and ventured alone into the forest. The deeper he went into the forest, the darker it became. The paths that the woodcutters had made had disappeared. Andy was scared but couldn't stop thinking about his father. Clutching his father's gun tightly, he carefully wandered through the forest, searching for the cave. 1 day, 2 days, and then 3 days passed. No matter how hard he searched, he couldn't find the cave. With all his food exhausted, Andy decided to return home for the day. That's when it happened. Suddenly, he felt chills all over his body. Startled, he turned around and saw a bear drooling and staring at him. Oh no! Andy started to run away frantically, but the bear closed in on him. Realizing he couldn't escape, Andy aimed the gun and fired. Bang! Unfortunately, he missed, and the recoil caused him to stumble and fall. A terrifying shadow loomed over Andy as he lay on the ground. He closed his eyes, accepting his fate. Father, I'm sorry. Your foolish son is leaving first. But the bear couldn't get any closer to Andy. Suddenly, the ground beneath Andy collapsed, and he was sucked into it. The bear watched as Andy fell into the hole and, disappointed, turned away and left. After a while, Andy regained consciousness and was surprised. Despite falling from such a height, he wasn't hurt at all. As he looked at his body in amazement, he noticed small fairies standing at his feet, looking up at him curiously. Human, you've finally woken up? Are you hurt anywhere? You must have been surprised falling from above. Did you save me? Yes, we caught you as you were falling. How did such tiny beings catch him? But that wasn't important right now. The presence of the fairies meant he had found the cave he had been searching for. Andy pleaded earnestly with the fairies. Please, save my father. All right. But there is a condition. The fairies smiled brightly as they looked at each other. Andy wasn't surprised, knowing he had to pass the fairies' trials to have his wish granted, according to the legend. The condition is simple. You must leave this cave with this. What is this? This is fairy dust. It can heal any wound. A small glass bottle filled with shimmering dust. If he could take this back, he could save his father. Carefully accepting it, Andy vowed to bring it to his father. But you must not look back. The path will continue straight ahead, so just walk forward. It's simple. Got it. Andy accepted the fairy's proposal. the fairies giggled and vanished. Left alone, Andy cautiously began walking in the direction the fairies had indicated. His nervous steps were slow. How long had he walked? Suddenly, the surroundings turned hazy, and before he knew it, the cave had disappeared and transformed into his home. Andy! Andy! Where are you? Andy! To his amazement, his father, who had collapsed, was desperately searching for him. His father wandered around and then started approaching Andy. "Dad!" Andy ran toward his father with joy. But his father walked past him. Confused, Andy almost turned around. At that moment, he remembered the fairy's warning not to look back. Stopping his half-turned body, Andy clenched his fists and hurried his steps. "There you are. Andy, come here. I was worried." Then, his father's warm voice came from behind. The familiar warmth of his father's voice almost made Andy turn around again, but he managed to stop himself in time. "You must be very angry." "I'm sorry, I came too late." His father spoke to Andy, who stood still. The voice sounded older and weaker than before, and Andy found himself crying. "Pull yourself together, Andy. This is just a trick of the fairies." What he was seeing was just an illusion. He was still in the cave, and his father was at home. Resolving himself, Andy ignored the voices behind him and continued walking forward. Finally, he saw the exit of the cave. If he could just get out, he could return home and heal his father. At that moment, a voice called out to him again. "Andy!" It was a woman's voice, unfamiliar yet somehow stopping him in his tracks. "Andy, it's your mother. I've missed you so much, my son." Yes, it was the voice of his mother, who had passed away when Andy was very young. Andy had always envied children with mothers. He always thought how wonderful it would be if he had a mother. Hearing his mother's voice, he couldn't move forward. He wanted to turn around and feel his mother's embrace, which he couldn't even remember. "Andy, come here. Your father will be here soon. Let's live together as a family." But he couldn't do that. His mother had passed away, and his father's life depended on him now. His father, who had raised him alone after his mother's death. It was time for him to repay his father. "I'm sorry, Mom." With his eyes closed, Andy started running forward. As soon as he exited the cave, the entrance vanished, and he found himself at the forest entrance. Andy was surprised, but knew he didn't have time to waste. He ran home and sprinkled the fairy dust on his father. Miraculously, his father opened his eyes. "Dad!" Andy, who had missed his father so much, cried in his arms. His father hugged him silently. After that day, more people ventured into the forest to find the cave, but no one ever found it. How was Andy able to find the cave? Was it his sincere love for his father? In any case, Andy lived happily with his father for a long time. How was the story today? Have you already fallen asleep? If so, I hope you have sweet dreams. This has been the 5th Dreamtime story for children and adults in need of healing. The Legend of the Fairy Cave. Thank you.